Hello and welcome to In Stitches. I've had a local charity ask me to have a look at this machine for them. They are a hospice and they have a bunch of shops around the country, charity shops, that are used to fundraise for the hospice. Yeah, the hospice, they provide care and support for people with life-limiting illnesses and their families. Everything's provided through their hospices around the country here free of charge. There's 32 of them around the country in New Zealand here. And their charity shops around the country are there to generate income for them so that they can supply these services free of charge for people. So they've asked me to have a look at this machine here. And so they get donated all sorts of different items, right, including sewing machines. They've got a person at the local hospice charity shop here that looks at sewing machines. That's part of their job, and they just do the basic checks, get them up and going. Basic service, sort of things like that, you know. Well, not really a service, but more like an oil, bit of a clean. Just a once over really, make sure everything's working. And then they put the machine out on the floor for sale. Anything that's sort of they've looked at and they can't quite work out, they ask me to sort it out for them. So that's what this is for here today. So here we have a lovely Singer machine. Singer Manufacturing Co. New York. The lid's in reasonable condition, I'd say, for its age. I think it's a, what is it? They've got a label here. It's 1898 Singer 28-2. They've got it listed as. That little beastie there, lovely. This little accessory carrier there, I think, is supposed to be attached to the inside of the case. Yeah, you can actually see where it's become detached there. That's probably fairly easy to sort out. With probably just glue that back in there. Quite nice little latch there to hold the lid closed. That's not really the sort of thing that I do for them. Yeah, they've got handy people there that will, glue that back in place there. We have a list here. So this is something that they've written out here. Singer hand crank 28-2. It's got serial number 1898. Includes 5 bobbins. Original manual bentwood case. Uses standard sewing needles. Yeah, that'd be handy, wouldn't it? I can see an issue here already. And the bobbin winder assembly adjusted to work. So that's what needs to be done, because yeah, the bobbin winder's quite tight. And I think apart from that, the machine is sewing. Not sure how well with the tension assembly the way it is there. So today's video will be basically just fixing the issues with this machine and threading it up, making sure it sews. The machine's been cleaned and oiled, so I don't have to do that. But yeah, I can see, well, this is loose here a little bit, a little hand crank unit there. And yeah, that bobbin winder is only working sporadically there by the look of that. So we'll start with the tension assembly here. I'll get you in close, we'll have a close look at this. So I can see straight away this is not right. This part here is to do with the tension release. And from memory, that there should sit in between the discs. So it effectively pushes out the front discs so that it releases the tension on these 2 discs here. I think that can be reasonably easily sorted out. But there is another problem. The little check spring is missing or broken, which might be a little bit more difficult to deal with, considering I don't think I've got any replacements. Yeah, check spring here is broken. Now, what we could do is we could actually straighten part of this here, the end of it here, and fashion a new check spring. And it saves us finding a replacement for it. Normally these ones here, they come out and they sit on this little stopper here. The spring sits down on that stopper it's sprung down onto it, so the force of the spring is actually in the downward direction, and the thread pops it up as the take-up lever comes up each time. So I'm wondering if I can just take like one loop out of this spring here. We might have to adjust it afterwards. Yeah, no doubt that's very good quality spring steel there. Yeah, actually I'm thinking I might remove this here so that I can work on this sort of detached from the machine there. So now these just unscrew from the main part, the main body of the machine, but you do have to be careful with these here. You don't want to really be poking a screwdriver in there and forcing it, especially if it's tight. I mean, this one's actually quite loose, but if that was really tight, you don't want to be forcing that, because it'll just splay these two pieces here. What you can do is, if it's really tight, you can pop this little thumb screw back on, and so you've got the thumb screw actually holds these two bits together. It maintains the integrity basically of that shaft there, and then you can use your screwdriver to loosen it there, and it doesn't splay these parts. And that just unscrews, and then the whole kit and caboodle comes out. Now the way this works is, you see that little bit that's spiraling in there, that gets clamped by this shaft here against the chassis of the machine at the appropriate position to provide a little bit of spring pressure here, like that. But what we want to do is we want to straighten this out, and then this can be reformed here. Actually, once you get to that point there, it's probably easy to put this back in and then start the reforming of the little loop that you need. So the key to these is that they need to be springing down onto this little stopper here, and if you just tighten that in like that, you'll see it's sort of not returning down. There's no spring pressure back in this direction down here. So what you do is you bring it round to, say, maybe the 6 o'clock position, tighten that nicely there, try and stop it from moving. That, no, come right around maybe. Yeah, just so that it hangs down like that, and that's enough spring pressure to come in here, you see. And it stays within this little channel here, so once you put the tension discs back on, that covers and will stop this from popping out into here. It remains in this little channel just here. Let's just put the tensioner back together so we've got a rough idea. So as far as I know, that goes through like that, and then you have this little tension release disc there, and then that one, then the spring, and then like that. And see, that gives you your tension release there. In more modern machines, the tension release is done by the presser foot lifting. So when you've finished your seam, you lift your presser foot, there's a mechanism that pushes this front disc out and releases the top tension so that you can pull the thread through and get your work out from underneath the foot there. Right, so that spring's working as it should, but it's just not formed properly. And so I would say just probably this is quite brittle. We just need to get a little loop in it, really, just a hook, at least just to get it so that it's usable. something like that there is really all you need. Just something that'll spring up a little bit. I probably just need to get that away from the side of the faceplate there. Just something like that there. I think that'll be fine. If you were really fussy about the machine and you wanted to spend a lot of time on it, you could get in there and clean that more in there, but I'm not going to go too crazy on it at this stage. That's something that really the new owner can probably do if they want to. It's certainly clean enough, you know, for it to work. I'm not going into full restoration mode. I don't do full services for the hospice shop. I really just get the problematic parts solved, and then as I say, there's a person there that gets the machines ready for sale as such. So that's their side of it. Okay, so there we have a nice reformed little check spring there. So you can do that sort of thing at a pinch, right? Because, you know, these check springs are getting a little bit hard to find now, but you could probably modify something from like an industrial plane sewer. I've got plenty of check springs for those. I've also got these here. These are for an industrial walking foot machine. Oh, jeepers. There's like a puzzle to get this unhooked here. Oh, jeepers. They would all sort of clump together, wouldn't they? There's 3 of them there, and it's like a blimmin' puzzle to get them separated. That's for an industrial walking foot. Now the diameter of this might be a little bit too wide, maybe here. Not sure actually whether that could be. Actually, shall I sacrifice one of these? Actually, now I'm curious as to whether that would fit. So you can take the whole thing off, holus bolus, if you really want to. You know what? It might fit, will it? Yeah, actually that might fit. Hello, Missy. Come and say hello. Hello, Alice. Hello. Why don't you say hello to everyone on YouTube? Have you come to help, in quotes? Have you? Hey? Oh, you're all soggy. She's been out in the rain. I reckon if I just sacrifice one of these industrial walking foot ones. What was that? What was that? You know what? I reckon. Gee, I think it's going to be nearly perfect. It's handy. If you're looking for a check spring replacement, industrial walking foot machine. Check spring. What are you playing with now? She's playing with the strap on my camera now. Is that going to fit though? What do you reckon, Alice? Hey? Hello? Do you mind? Bring that down there, tighten it. Tighten there and bring this up. And just trim a bit more. Perfect. Here you go. Good replacement. Okay, that's good. Alright, that's that top tension issue sorted. Right, next issue. Bobbin winder. Now, I can see that you know, it's not driving. Gee, Alice, you make a better door than a window, don't you? Eh? We can see here that it's not driving here. It is pushed up against the hand wheel there. Oh yeah, that's wobbly as anything, isn't it? I'll tighten that up. That's better. Not so wobbly. Okay. And if I disengage this bobbin winder here, I can feel that that's quite tight. That should be as free as free. Now there's an adjustment for that. We're trying to focus on this bobbin winder here, Missy. Yes, not the back of your head. Do you mind? There we go. Right, the other issue is this here is floating around in the breeze. That should spring load against this cam here. But first of all, we need to sort out this issue here where this is stiff. Now there's an adjustment here, and that is done by adjusting this screw here. That's an eccentric screw. So first of all, on the back of it, there's a nut. I think it is, I think that one's going to fit. Yeah, that is a 5/16. So if we loosen that, what do you reckon, Alice? Oh, people can't see. Do you realise that? I can't see either. Right, so there's a nut on the back, okay? I've loosened it. You'll have to trust me because you can't see. And see, if we adjust this, you'll see that this whole cam and its drive cog there will adjust up and down. So I've loosened the nut on the back here, and so this screw's loose, and the screw is an eccentric screw, so you can see there as I turn it, it's not unscrewing because it's just going straight through the casting at the back onto the nut. So if I turn the screw, you can see the whole gear moving up and down, and you know, when it's down like that, it's not even meshed. It's not even meshed with this here. See, when it's right down, see, it's not even meshed there. So I can turn this. That's just the little worm gear just turns. It doesn't drive this here. So the key is to bring it up. Sorry, that's the cat bumping the camera. Bring it up so that it's meshing, but that it's not too tight. So if you go too far, it can actually bind up the gears. So you want to find the point where it's meshing nicely and there's no slack in the system, but you don't want it to be tight. Like it's quite tight there now. So I'll just back it down a little bit there, where it's nice and free and there's not too much slack in the system there. And at that point there, you just tighten the lock nut while holding the screwdriver in place. You just tighten the lock nut up at the back there. That, and then just check that it's nice and free there. You can actually get a slight adjustment even when the nut's tight, a slight adjustment there just for fine tuning. As long as the nut doesn't come loose, that's fine. That's good there. I would put oil here. You can see it's actually got oil on it. There's a little hole there for the bobbin winder oil point. I'd put oil here, and I'd put oil on this, just in here where the screw is there, where the screw goes through that gear. And maybe just a little bit of oil on this cam here. And that leads us to the next issue. This here should spring against the cam. Now, if I engage this, push that against there, right? So you can see the way it works. It's driving this gear here, which is turning the little love heart shaped cam there, but this is not springing against it. You can see that once it gets to its left hand travel there, it doesn't spring back. So it should be spring pressure there, you see. The spring's there, I can see the spring, but it's not located properly unless it's broken. So if we have a close look here, yeah, we can see there's a little locator pin here, and that locates into that little hole there that you can see just above my fingernail, just like that. So what you can do, and this here needs to hook over, that part of the spring needs to hook over this part here. So what you can do is you can just pop that in, locate that pin into that little hole there, like that, and then just screw the screw back in. So just get that screw started, don't tighten it, and then just pull this back so it spring loads there. Tighten this up. And there we go. It's not quite fully returning there. Actually, I might just pop a little bit of oil in there. It's looking better. Yeah, that's better. And that just winds the thread onto the spool nice and evenly. Right, that's that issue. Now I can see another problem, and that is that, you know, when you're winding a bobbin like that, you should be able to disengage the stop motion clutch here, this one, to stop the machine from turning over while you're winding a bobbin. And I can tell that it's not adjusted properly. It's not allowing me to undo it properly. So probably the easiest way to deal with this is actually to take this hand cranker off. It's just one screw holding that on. There's an oil point in these as well. That's one that often gets missed. There's another one just there as well. Okay, and that lubricates your hand crank. And so what we've got here is you can't loosen this far enough, right? If you turn this clockwise, it tightens up on the, so that the machine runs, right? That's the way it's designed to work in the running position. And then you're supposed to be able to undo this, and that should free just the hand wheel up so that the machine doesn't turn over. But the machine is turning over. You can see it in the background there, right? So the way to deal with this is just undo the stopper. Sometimes you can get away with not taking them right out, see, and then that allows you to undo this. And then, so the stopper, you can see, comes through the other side here, and it just stops against these little nipples here. Okay, so effectively, the little stopper is probably sitting about here somewhere, and when you go to undo it, it just stops against this here. There's no leeway there. So potentially, if we just swap that around, we might find that we get a little bit more clearance there. Let's just try it. Yeah, see we've got a little bit of, so that's tight, that's in sewing mode, and then you undo that and you get into bobbin winding mode there. Just beautiful. There's another oil point down in here too. Just a little hole in the top there. Get a bit of oil in there. Lovely. Just like that. And then we can put this back on. This is actually a little bit worn here. There's a little rubber damper here, and you can see it's actually worn through to the metal there, so it just makes them a little bit less smooth. Yeah, that's something that can be sorted out. I won't do that. The new owner can, look at getting all these bits and pieces sorted if they want to. And it sort of really depends how far they want to go with it. I mean, some people just buy these for as an ornament, they don't want to use them, so there's no point sort of going too far with them at this stage. Nice there, and then we can undo that. Beautiful. Well, I think that is all the issues sorted. We should give it a test sew, eh? Probably a good idea. What do you think, Alice? Test sew time? Oh, before we do that, let's have a look at the accessories and bits and pieces, and we'll have a close look around the machine as well. A little bag of bits in here. Original manual. Oh, look at that. It's lovely, isn't it? 28-2. I love the font design for this. It's really cool. It's a flattened 8. Oh, this manual's lovely. It's almost sort of got an Art Deco sort of look about it, doesn't it? But I know it's a lot earlier than that. 1896 reissue, January 23. Instructions for using the Singer sewing machine number 28-2. Very nice. There is a name on it. Oh, it's not a name. You might be able to make it out there. It says machine book. Very nice. Look, someone's sewn the back cover. 28-2. Vibrating shuttle hand machine. Lovely. It's actually naming the parts here. And the second page is how to oil your machine. Oiling places shown by arrows. Very handy for maintenance at home. To oil the machine, set the needle, threading, shows you the detailed threading there. Thread the shuttle. Threading the shuttle. Lovely. To prepare for sewing, removing the work, tension, feed, pressure on the material, general remarks. Twist linen and cotton thread, needles and oil. Yeah, that back covers come off there. Okay. Yeah, really nice. There's an old school cotton reel there, Silco, made in Great Britain, English Sewing Limited, mercerized cotton, white, fast dye, 100 yards. These were a very common sight. Still see a lot of those around. I'm assuming in here we've got the little bobbins. That's good, isn't it? Nice original bobbins. Very handy. Let's wind one, eh? Oh, it's I can see the faint outline of his Master's Voice logo. So I think this would have been for storing the, the styluses for the old hand crank blimmin' record players. Did you notice that the manual doesn't show how to wind the bobbin? Doesn't show the threading for it, which I thought was unusual. Okay. That in there. You kind of expect a little bit of tension to be on this thread here, but maybe just there's enough just coming off the spool here. We'll see. Let's engage that there. Of ASMR for you. I won't go through and wind the whole thing. You get the idea. It's working nicely there now, isn't it? Now the shuttle, that pushes back. Oh yep, these are nice and free. I would oil these tracks here. These always seem to seize up. A bit of oil down there. It's a right pain when they do. I just use standard sewing machine oil. That's all you really need when working with sewing machines. Remove the shuttle there. When you're threading these, the thread should come off if you hold the bobbin in your left hand, the thread should come off the top to the right, like that. And then you grab your shuttle, hold it with the point down, pop the bobbin into it, and the thread will pop down into that slot there, like that. And then you pull it down and then come back up like that. And it should pull into that another track there and just pull under this spring there, just like that. And that's your bobbin threaded. And then to install it back into the machine, you have this curved face here to the left there, and just pop the point in and then just pop it down. And there's an oil point just here as well. There should actually be a little wick in there, but I think the wick has long disappeared. But let's just get a bit of oil in there. There's a little reservoir in there to maintain oil onto that race there. That's a high wear point there. Okay. Since it hasn't been used for so long, I'll just put a bit of oil along that race there. Yeah, you could actually tell that it was a bit dry. Sounding better already. Even though I've got oil in here, maybe it's not getting through. So just manually oiling that race is probably a good idea. Or that surface. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a standard sewing machine needle. Probably do the trick, although that is an original old school needle. Oh, is it? No, yeah. I think that is an oldish style needle. It's certainly not modern. But if we compare sizes there, so this modern Smets is on the right hand side there, and then the one that came out of the machine is on the left. They look very similar. There's a longer point on the other one, on the original. Hang on, let me just make sure they're butted together. Pretty close. Pretty close. Let's prove the theory and put a modern needle in it. So flat facing the right hand side, down through the tension discs, and then just under the check spring there, should do the trick, and through the take up lever, and we can see the action of the check spring. Now there's not a lot of movement there on that check spring, but there's an adjustment for that. Undo that one, and we might be able to get a little bit more play there. So I'm just pulling this up. It pulls the stopper down, and you can see there's a little bit more. There's a bit more play there, a little bit more spring. Tighten that back up. From the take up down through that guide there, and then from left to right through the needle eye there. That, and we should be able to pick up that bobbin thread there, like that, and we are ready to sew. Let's see how we go here. Something up with the feed. There's something up with the feed. It's kind of feeding back on itself. Something not right there. What's going on? Let's have a look here. It's like I'm just looking here, it's almost like the feed dog's too high. Just take this press foot off, and this plate here, we'll get a closer look. Yeah, there is an adjustment just in the side there. I'm pretty sure there's a screw. Yeah, so this screw here, I've just got it tilted back there. That is your feed dog adjustment screw, height adjustment. It actually attaches the feed dog to the mechanism as well. But if we just put this plate back on, so I'm just adjusting that so when the feed dog's at its highest position, just about there, might be still a little bit high. It's about it there, and that should be okay there. Yeah, I can see the feed dogs are actually going right down under. So what was happening was the feed dogs, when they go down under the plate, well, they weren't going down under far enough. They were actually still above the plate slightly and feeding the fabric backwards. So that's about right there. You should have about 1 millimetre or even 0.8 of a millimetre protruding above the plate of the teeth here, or even just like the depth of the teeth on some machines. But general rule of thumb is about 1 millimetre, slightly less maybe. Okay, take 2 on the sewing attempt. That's a lot better. Stitch length is pretty long. I might just drop that stitch length slightly there. Tension looks okay. There's a little bit of oil contamination there on that seam, but I'll just wait for that oil to work its way out there. Oh yeah, that's looking really nice there. Let's see how it handles the heavier work, eh? So that's 4 layers. 6, 8. That's just a cotton fabric, nothing too heavy. Oh yeah, it doesn't even bat an eyelid. It's just hoeing through that. Beautiful. Yep, really nice, really nice. Tension release here. Yep, really good. Yeah, check out that stitch quality. Really nice. That's the bottom side there. I mean, that's what these machines are known for, right? Just beautiful stitch formation. Yep. Tensions maybe just need a wee tweak. Looks good though. Really nice. Really, really pleased. Well, you know, I think that whoever ends up buying this machine from the Hospice shop will be very pleased with a nice working machine. And it looks nice too, you know. I mean, this machine has had some use, right? It's not perfect. It's definitely had some use. You can see there that the decals have worn off here. There's quite a bit of chipping to the paintwork on the front here. But, you know, the decals are still, you can still see these ones here. They're a little bit worn as such, but these ones are still in pretty good nick. This one along the top here. This down this corner's still looking pretty good. I would say the machine's been well loved, well used. It's just a thing of beauty. I mean, look at the back of it. Really nice. Quite plain on the front faceplate, aren't they? No pinstriping or anything, just very plain. Yeah, I think the Hospice shop will be pretty pleased with that, to have a working Singer hand crank machine. So that's it for this one. All fixed up, all set to go. The little check spring here is all fixed up. This is assembled properly, the tension assembly unit there. We've freed up the bobbin winder, tightened up the hand crank there, and you know, redid the spring setup there for the bobbin winder as well. So it's a success. It sews nicely. It's a beautiful machine. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much to my patrons. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we'll see you in the next one.